Kauranga School, recently incorporated into the Palmerston North City boundary, now gets a visit from the mobile library. And the mobile library has just been replaced with a brand spanking new bus, which you can see behind us. And librarian behind the wheel for the last 20 years is Rob. Hi.
Hiya.
How you doing?
All good.
Yeah. Now, you must enjoy these little jaunts out into the country.
It's the best job in town.
Is that right?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Now, you've just taken possession of this this glorious creature we see parked up behind us. Tell us a bit about your life behind the wheel of the old bus.
The old bus was getting very tired towards the end of it, and it was leaking a lot when it rained. We got pools of water.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. It struggled up the hills. It used to kind of clamber up rather than drive up. It was just getting tired. It used to smoke a lot out the back, and the shelves used to rattle, the books used to fall off. Having said that, I had quite an attachment to the old bus, and it was difficult to say goodbye to it, which I did on Wednesday. And I had a tear in my eye when I said goodbye, but you have to make room for new things. And as you can see, we've replaced it with something rather special here.
Indeed it is. That you drove the old bus for 20 years of its 25-year life, is that?
Not quite 20 years.
Not quite 20 years.
No,
but
a considerable amount of time, yes. Yeah.
So you would know every rattle and every
I knew every nut and bolt and what was causing all the noises, yes, I did.
I understand it's been put up on Trade Me.
It will be.
Yeah?
Yes.
And,
it's still full of books at the moment. We've got to clear all the books off. We're doing that Monday afternoon.
Yeah?
And then they can put it up for sale.
It gets all spruced up, I understand, and away it'll go. It'll make someone a lovely house bus one of these days, probably.
Yes, there will be quite a lot of interest in that vehicle. Even though it's quite old, it still goes okay. It never failed to start. Every morning it started on the first turn of the key, and it came to life.
Hey, how's that for a sales pitch?
That's pretty good, yeah.
And, of course, it comes with its own chemical toilet, which is something I never thought about. That librarians in a bus like this actually need to go
yes,
sometime.
Yes, librarians still need to go to the toilet.
And you've got one in the new bus.
I insisted on that. It's a civilised work area, so you don't want to be wandering off trying to find toilets all over the place, yes.
So, in terms of comparing the brand new bus with the old one, what are the main features that stand out for you?
Probably the biggest benefit of this bus over the old one is that the access is a lot easier on this. This bus actually kneels. As you've just seen, that the bus kneels, but normally when you're parked against a curb which comes to about that high, what you can do is pull this ramp out, and that will then sit about there, which kind of makes a semi-flat surface, which is a lot easier for access.
So that it means people with disabilities or walkers, they find getting into the bus a lot easier.
Yeah, because that would come up about there. Admittedly, you've still got steps once you get into the bus, but they're a lot smaller than the other bus.
Because I noticed the aisle actually slopes upwards through the bus.
It does. That was, again, to avoid having an extra step, because you've got to get to a certain height to get over the engine, which is at the back of the bus. So that's a point that you've got to the floor has got to go over that. So the only way you can get to that height is either by having a slope or having steps, extra steps. We chose to have a slope, which I think was the best idea.
It's a great piece of design. And talking of design, the graphics on the exterior of the bus are, shall we say, intriguing.
Intriguing, yes.
Yes, yeah. And you've still got the sign. You've still got the sign writing to go.
Yes, we need to put on that it is actually a mobile library, and we also need to put on that it belongs to Palmerston North City Council. That's a work in progress, so we've still got the front and the back to do completely, and possibly some signage along both sides.
And another feature is this awning here.
This is really good for events. You can wind it out even further than that. Legs drop down. So take, for instance, the Festival of Cultures, which we were at Saturday. We've got tables and chairs which we keep under there. We can bring the rug out from inside, and you can set this up. It's a nice little area for people just to relax in. Put a few magazines out here. Nice relaxing
So you've got almost
sunshine.
a cafe.
Cafe feel, but maybe
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
cafe with the cafe.
I noticed that it's got those very large mirrors either side of the
The
driver's
advantage
position, yeah.
of those is it stands out. It makes it look different. But also in the old bus seat, you had a column down by the window, and then you had the mirrors, and it was very easy to miss cyclists, particularly. So you could be at a roundabout, and all of a sudden a cyclist would pop out from behind the mirror console. Whereas these are higher up and in front of you, so you haven't got that hazard. It's just the safer.
It just reduces the blind spots.
It does, yes.
And
Putting
you've
it succinctly, that's what it does.
That's
yes,
right.
yeah.
And also it's got a television camera out the back, so you can.
It has, yes.
You have full visibility when you're reversing.
Exactly. The other one, it was put your head out the window and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But as you can see in schools, that's not really good enough. You really want to know who's behind or what's behind you. That's got, as you say, the TV camera, but it's also got a sensor, so it beeps if you're coming up to something and getting too close. When the beeping stops, you've hit it. So
Yeah.
I haven't tested that yet, but anyway, that's what it's supposed to do. So I can actually reverse now by looking at the TV camera. It's really good. Yeah, I'm really impressed with that.
Right. And it's got inside you've got a marvellous feeling of light and space.
Exactly.
Because of the windows in the roof.
Yeah, the skylights are quite big on this. So it's nice to have that natural light, so you don't need to put lights on. It's just a very airy feel about it. Yeah.
And also, I understand it's bigger than the previous library as well.
It's about a metre longer.
Right.
It's, yeah, just that little bit bigger, but because of that backing camera, it's not really difficult, and it's got a better lock on it. I noticed that trying to get in the gateway here, that it was easier to actually get through rather than the old one, which was kind of a bit push and pull, and
So
hard.
you have really noticed a quarter of a century advance in technology.
The driving, I would say this bus, driving it just glides along the streets. The other one would chug along the streets, and that's the difference.
Now, since the city boundaries have been extended, you've had your route extended as well to take in places like Kairanga, and where else do you go now?
Okay, well, Kairanga is the busiest stop, as you can see from this morning, but we also go to Bunnythorpe, which we do on a Thursday evening, and I also go to Bunnythorpe School. And Longburn is coming in as well. We haven't actually got any stops out there as yet, but that is a work in progress, so we'll be doing that shortly.
So what are the usual stops that have been well established in town? Where are the sorts of places that the mobile library turns up at?
Well, we stop outside of schools on a regular basis after 3 o'clock, obviously, to catch those the kids coming out. We also go to some of the retirement villages, such as Ollie's Tree, Julia Wallace, and we just make general stops around the streets for people who either can't or do not wish to go into the central library or to have that sort of town visit. It's just easier to come on here.
Well, by the sounds of things, it is the event of the week for the kids here at Kairanga.
It is. It seems quite popular, these visits out here, yes.
And now the principal at Kairanga School, Alistair Shaw. What does having the mobile library service mean to you and your school?
Well, I think the thing that we really appreciate about the mobile library and the point of difference is it's not supplementing our reading program. We've got plenty of books in the school, but what it does is that it gives us a sense of excitement. You know, we've got all these new books, hundreds of books, tailor-made for the children, turning up in a bus. Now, we all know that a bus is a journey. Yes. And for the kids, you know, they see a sense of excitement with it. The people on the bus, the employees there who are serving us, they are able to match books to children. They've got a real love and enjoyment of the books as well. And I think that the children just love the sense of they have ownership over changing their books. They love the point of difference where it comes, and it's exciting, and they just enjoy the whole experience. Yeah.
And as I suppose included in the city boundaries relatively recently, it's a good point of introducing them to the city library itself, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. When the city boundary changed, there was a fair bit of concern, I think I could say that, from the local community. They weren't, they were a bit sceptical about what was happening. The mobile bus actually has won people over to the city, to being in the city. They can see this is one of the advantages. Our children are winning here, we're being well served, there's regular attendance, and the mobile library are great ambassadors for the city. Yeah, so it's been a real reward for us to be part of the city now.
Now, when the service started, of course, you had the old bus chugging in here. So what are your impressions of the brand spanking new vehicle?
Well, it's exciting, isn't it? Look, it's because it's new, it's got that wonderful new smell, it's got a different atmosphere, you know, entirely. It's new, it's fresh, it's exciting, the fittings aren't ad hoc, it's all purpose made. And the great thing about, because it's longer and wider, there's a neat area in the middle here where the children can sit down on the carpet with a good book, you know, and that's very homely. And I like that. That's what reading should be about. So for us, it promotes reading in a whole different way. But it builds on what's happening in the classroom and in our own school library.
And I think it's almost a combination of the age-old book with new technology.
Yeah, well that's right. The technology serves to bring it into the 21st century, but there's nothing like a good book. You know, a good, honest book, and that relationship you can have with something in your hands. You know, there are children all around the school who'd be sitting out in the sun, up with a good book. It's great. However, the technology obviously speeds things up. It provides a point of interest as well for these digital age children.